What it is, y'all, it is your old boy Pilk, and I guess you could call this really more of a gush piece than it is an actual informative video, because I have been begging for this mode for the longest time. By the longest time, I mean basically since skill flow dropped in the game. So, let's talk about it in regards to Record Buster, because with Record Buster, you know, traditionally you'd have to like manually run this. That's not necessarily a bad thing, obviously. You do want to manually run it and you want to get your best run in there. But for people that are on a really tight schedule, or, you know, like I've had horrible luck with RNG and all that stuff, skill flow is a massive, massive, massive time saver. If you're able to get a good run in, and obviously I'm still working on my runs, I've not had my runs perfected by a huge margin yet, and I kind of know where I'm messing up, and not that I'm going to correct them on this video, but, you know, I've got a pretty good rank there. We are obviously tonight on stream going to be shooting for top 50. I don't know if that's possible with my team, but we're going to give it a shot. Let's go ahead and talk about Record Buster and also talk about skill flow. Now, obviously, to start off, this Record Buster, obviously, you do want anti-stun. Reveria can stun you, and she's a fire type, so you really do want to bring water units. I'm not using any of the new units. I do know that the new Finn is really good for this, but being that I've told you guys not to summon, I'm not summoning. I really, really, really want one of the new units, but I've kind of decided that if it happens, it happens, but I'm not losing my shirt on these new units at the moment, because I think we can get by with the team we've got. Now, one of the big questions I always get is, what should people use their event unit tickets on? And I've often said the assists are a really good option, and that kind of rings true today, more so than ever, because right now in the game, Water has a huge free-to-play buff with this Ina. Midsummer Maiden Ina is still really good, and that's because she does water resistance down 15%. Now, she doesn't have any other effects, but if I'm honest, most all of my other effects I actually have in place currently in the team. So if you're looking for a good water resistance debuff unit, she's fantastic, and I believe she's acquirable through the tickets. Wouldn't make sense if they hadn't added her yet, but let's just double check. Event unit exchange, nope. Event unit exchange is down here. Bam. So let's see. Midsummer Maiden Ina. There she is right there at top. Thought she was there because she's there with her swimsuit too. So you can actually acquire her completely free to play. I really do like that. And it's kind of just an example of how free-to-play assists can sometimes be really, really, really useful. So I like that a lot. Now, obviously, my water attack damage unit is going to be Hephaestus here. She does fire and water attack damage 15%. I don't have anybody that's better than that, but she does magic 20. That's really going to benefit our team greatly, because our team is predominantly magic. As far as the team composition, the rest of the team is pretty obvious. Obviously, we've got... Now, the one thing that is weird here is this unit, who is a predominantly an AoE, but you're going to see why we use her here in a few moments. I'm going to talk about that, and we're going to go ahead and get into this run real quick. Now, before I do that, I want to talk about skill flow. If you still haven't actually clicked this little button down here, what skill flow basically is you could set up your runs, and I'm going to go ahead and show the sloppy run from last time that really was wholly ineffectual, but it'll work. Basically, what skill flow does is it allows you to go in here and set whatever unit is going to do. In other words, you could technically auto. Well, I really don't recommend it. I still recommend babysitting your units and making sure everybody's good. But you basically set it up so everybody's going to do something similar every single turn. And I'll show you what I mean by that. And if you want to know why I say this is such a really good idea for Record Buster, you get 5 Record Buster runs a day, and then you can spend some Iris and actually get more than that. But if you get really, 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 really bad RNG and your numbers are just atrocious, sometimes it's just rerunning it is just exhausting. Because you're like, man, I put everything into that last run, and I got to go through and manual it all over again and hope everything turns out. Or you're like running a team like I'm running that does have a big caveat and is a bit of a gamble. Now, I can see you're already looking at my team going, where is your unit that's going to remove strength and magic debuffs? Well, she there. And you'll see what I mean when I get into the run and why it's a massive gamble. Typically, you'd want an adventurer that is going to remove strength and magic somewhere in your runs. But for me, I'm going a little more risky, for lack of a better way to put it. So for me, RNG could be a huge factor in my run. If RNG just is not in my favor and hasn't been, then I die in turn 13 and I've got to restart over, and that can be mentally exhausting. So having skill flow there to memorize what you've done and how your runs are going can really help you get off a really splendid run, and can really help you, like, and even then, if you really want to get lazy, you could auto run it like 4 or 5 more times or whatever, if you want to pay your iris to do that. Sometimes it's worthwhile. And then if you're like right on the cusp of a really phenomenal run, really getting that top slot that you want to be in, you could just rerun it over and over and over and over and over again. And it basically memorizes everything you do. Now, the really nice part about this, if I wanted to be lazy and cheap, I could actually go copy someone else's team. There's nothing really stopping you from doing that. That said, and one of the best things, the decision-wise, that they did with this is the fact that they remove your ability to copy someone else's skill flow. You can't just go into, top-ranking people's teams. If I go all-player here, you can't just go grab, like, a top-ranking person's team. You could copy their team, but you're not going to copy their skill flow. You have nothing. There's that Finn I was talking about. You're not going to have those capabilities. So technically, while really awesome on the surface, it's even better since that copy button doesn't actually give you the ability to just cheese it the cheapest possible way. You still got to use your brain, and you've got to figure out how they did that run effectively. Kind of, you can see the massive difference in damage between that team and mine, and mine's not far off. I just gotta eke out that last little bit of damage in my team, and actually I know where it is. I've got to get that run in. So let's go and jump in here and talk about how this works with skill flow and kind of take it from there. Now, good, auto battle's not on. Now, I could technically turn on auto battle, and they would just go through the runs just like they did prior. And that's actually really, really, really good for busy people like myself, because then I can just auto run this a few times on, like, a busy evening, and then get my final runs out. Now, you guys know that I like to do these on stream, and I like to and oftentimes I even get better runs because you guys help me work through problems that I haven't been able to work through over the weekend. Yeah, that guy. Well, whatever. Shameless. Whatever it is. That, and it's entertaining. I like doing these runs on stream, frankly. But neither here nor there. Let's go ahead and talk about the team and talk about basically how you want to approach this. And strategies, and then, of course, building your skill flow. So, as you can see here right away, basically everybody's set up to do exactly what I did last time. So, skill 2 with Line to get that 33% SA gauge charge. Everybody else's skill 1 to get their buffs out. Pretty straightforward stuff. Now, the debuff on Riveria, I always wait till turn 2 to do that. It's a bit of a gamble. Like, she could technically, like, just focus on one unit and wreck them and make their life miserable. I find she doesn't generally do that. In fact, I think she just does mostly AoEs there anyway. But there is the possibility that me doing that could screw over my run completely on that first turn, and then I would just restart it. Like, to me, it's not a big deal. It's worth the gamble. So in this turn, I'm going to use Winnie for her single target and AoE debuff. I'm going to go ahead and use this unit for her physical magic and water resistance debuff. I'm going to use Riveria for basically continuing her buff skill. And now I'm going to do the 45% debuff with Ryu. So, and as you can see, that's already set up. Like, legitimately, I don't even have to check it. I just know it's going to be there. I can press go, and it goes through the rolls. Now, I do like double checking it, even though I do have the skill flow set up, and that just kind of wraps my brain around where am I messing up, what am I doing. Now, one thing that I enjoy doing, and it may or may not be a mistake in my runs, is I like getting because Riveria is going to remove your buffs on turns 4 and 8. And so, for me, having to rebuff is not that big of a deal. That said, debuffs all stay in play. So I'm going to go ahead and do Yosuga, since I've really got nothing else to do with Haruhime at this point. And then on with Philvis here, I'm actually going to use her SA. And that SA, since she's fully buffed up, is going to give us a magic resist and water resist down 50%. Remember, so long as Haruhime keeps replicating that, that's going to stay in play. We're going to be fine with that. We really are not in any danger of, stressing out the team or messing up in general. She's just generally going to be, she's basically just going to continue on that path. So we're going to do that early and just get that out there, and that's really going to help us do some early damage. There is kind of a thing I could have done here I didn't do, and I see the hole in it. I am going to work to replicate that, rectify that, but I'm not going to do that on this video because gotta keep a little something inside. Now, for Reveria, I'm going to go ahead and do her skill 2. Her skill 2 is her big hit, so that's going to be that. And with Ryu, I find that she runs out of MP way too quickly. Now, I've tried to put an MP assist on her. It really didn't work in my runs. That said, her counters really do an insane amount of damage. So for the sake of saving her MP, I like to do some just base attacks here. It's really just to save that MP. I find that MP is going to be far more useful later on down the line. So we buff her up, do our debuff, and then just do a base attack with her. Seems like a waste, but believe me, short-term loss, long-term gain is kind of my goal there. Now, you know that Philvis doesn't do a lot of damage, and the main reason she doesn't do damage is because she is an AoE unit. She's not single target. Now, her third skill is single target. Now, on this turn, we're actually going to do her third skill. We're going to continue doing buff replication and debuff replication with Haruhime. And I'm going to go ahead and do skill 4 with Reveria on this turn. Now, you will notice that I am not removing strength or magic buffs. I mean, technically, she has no strength buff. I'm not removing Reveria's magic buff because I do have enough... basically, I have enough debuffing on her between the assists and the adventures. This turn, I'm not worried about it. I really don't need to fret. Reveria is going to hold her own. She's definitely not going to be hurting. So I'm just going to continue on that path, and I'm going to do a base attack with Ryu one more time. So while this essay isn't going to feel comfortable, it's not going to hurt. It really is not a threat. Turn 8 could be. So we're going to kind of address that when we get there. But largely, I find that turn 4 is fine. You don't really need to do it unless, your units really aren't that powerful. But see, all mine just kind of survived without much concern whatsoever. So, let's get into turn 5. Now, obviously, we have to rebuff on turn 5. I'm going to go ahead and do Sheikah on this turn. Normally, I do Yosuga here because to get some healing and whatnot out, but we didn't take a lot of damage. This is another reason why I say it does help to kind of babysit this. So rather than where my skillful would normally say do Yosuga here, I'm going to do Sheikah just so I can get the MP regeneration out and to get some early buffing on everybody else. And of course, we're doing our triplicate of our buffs here. And the one thing that is worth noting, most of my units, I know Reveria does. I don't remember whether, I think Philvis does too, extra attacks. So this is going to rebuff that as well. Now, you will notice one big hole in this as we speak, and that is Reveria that we're fighting, technically. Not mine, but the one we're fighting, even though I kind of underlined the one. It's because my green screen doesn't reach that far. But the Reveria that we're fighting still has her magic buff. So we've got to be a wee bit careful on this. Now, if you removed it on turn 4, great. I think you actually have removed it on turn 5, but I don't recollect. Honestly, I don't remember off the top of my head. But it doesn't really matter. It's not hurting me. My units are buffed up enough. And on this turn, I'm actually going to go ahead and do Yosuga so we get some healing out there. You will notice we're going to do a very cautious dance with Haruhime on this because... honestly, Haruhime could... we really need to be cautious about her MP. We really need her MP later in the game. So we're going to be really... it's going to be interesting how we kind of dance around the situation here. Now, normally my skill flow would say I do Sheikah here, but because I could play it... I didn't have to play it safe last turn. This turn I can actually do Yosuga, and then next turn I can do Sheikah one more time, and then keep everything in play. Now... I'm going to go, I don't need to do any more debuffing, so I can just go ahead and do our buff stacks, and then get back to doing a base attack with Ryu. Once again, short-term loss, long-term gain. Believe me, it works out in the long run. All right. And you can kind of see now where, like, the skill flow will help out, but it's like it's more of an aid than a crutch. You shouldn't be using it as a crutch. You should definitely be using it as something to help you out, not necessarily like your only option. That said, if you're really busy, it's a great way to just like fight that RNG. Now, not saying my runs wouldn't be successful, but I can be a little more successful by sitting here and babysitting it. That said, I also don't need to worry about what did I do this time? What did I do next time? What am I doing here? If I'm like, like oftentimes I got children, so I'll get distracted. I'll set my phone down and walk away. I don't have to worry about that. I come back and it just reminds me what I was doing. I remember exactly where I am. I don't have to worry about, turn order or any of that stuff. Skill flow is such a huge asset to a busy person like myself. So let's go ahead and do this one more time. I'm going to actually do Sheikah on this turn instead of Yosuga. You notice I did change it up for my skill flow. I'm not going to overwrite that skill flow. I'm basically just going to keep the other one as the base, but I'm going to keep modifying it as I see fit. Hopefully that makes a lot of sense. Okay, skill 3. I'm going to go up to skill 2 now with Reveria. Now you will notice that Reveria does have 2 turns left on Frozen Orb. That's fine, frankly. There is something to be said for maybe saving that a little bit, but I just kind of let it run out and then rebuff it on the next turn. That's the way I choose to do it. There are other, I'll say, methodologies that you could follow on that, but that's kind of the way that I let it run. I am aware that I'm losing a little bit of damage that way, and I do know a way to fix it, but I haven't attempted that to see if it really affects the score, so I honestly just don't know. So we're going to go ahead and do our big hits with everybody, except Ryu one more time. Ryu is once again going to do a base attack. Like I said, I'm saving all her MP for that late game. Basically what we're doing right here is we're relying on her to get counters and to do her damage via counters, not necessarily just going in for the kill. We're not going for the throat. We're looking to build her up. All right? Great. Now, we're going to go back and do Yosuga this turn. We're going to do our big attacks. And I'm going to go ahead and do Ryu one more time with her base attack. Now, that will change next turn. But for now, we're going to continue down this path. You will notice, once again, I am not removing the magic buff on this turn. And I did talk about that maybe being a possibility. Reveria's SA will remove the magic buff, but everybody's strong enough here that I feel confident they're going to survive this. There's a possibility they might not, but that's the gamble that I've chosen to take. And everybody did pretty effectively with some, relative flying colors. Now, here's where it gets fun. Notice Haruhime is reeling. Haruhime does not feel very good at all. One of the things that I've taken to doing here is actually doing Haruhime's SA on this turn. We go ahead and do everybody's big buffs. We do Haruhime's SA, and that's going to give everybody the 100% magic. That's going to help them basically get further on in this fight. Now, as far as debuffs, we haven't checked debuffs in a long time. The magic resistance is down 50%. Water resistance is still down 50%. Endurance and Dex are still down 30. 1 unit resistance is still down 20, not including the 20% that we also have on the assist side. So we're very, very fortunate on that. So with this juncture, I'm literally just going to soldier on and continue doing what I'm doing. The other half of this is Haruhime is going to get a big heal here. I don't have to worry about racing Reveria. So basically, Haruhime is just going to instantly heal everybody and give everybody that big buff, and then they can all do their element level buffs, and we can kind of move on from there. Let go. Now, I don't always do this, to be honest. This is something that I've kind of taken to doing most recently. It has helped out my scores a little bit, but there is a certain give and a take here, because there is something to be said for doing a double or triple SA later on with the other units. So I've taken a little bit of damage back from that later SA, but I've also given a little bit more into all my other units for these next 4 turns. So whether this is good, whether this is bad, We'll have to see. But at this juncture, you'll notice now everybody is 100% magic, and everybody's got their element buffs. Now, Riveria's skill 3 is a magic buff, but it also is a dex buff, and we need that dex buff. So while it seems redundant to do skill 2, or skill 3, I'm going to do it anyway, because that does pay out massively. And I will emphasize massively. I'm going to go ahead and do Yosuga one more turn. Going to get everything basically replicated up one more time so that we are not going to, risk running out of stuff. The other half of that is Ryu is going to start chipping away at this 1 unit resistance, so I need to make sure that that's buffed up a little more. So we're just basically going to play this game a little more cautiously going forward, and we're going to have to watch our buffs and debuffs. So let's go ahead and do our skill 3 with everybody, including Ryu now that Ryu has her 100% magic buff. That's going to help her out big time. So she's 100% magic, 60% water, and the really nice part about Ryu from this point forward is that she's just going to hit insanely. Just absolutely insanely. So everybody's skill 3 with even Haruhime's skill 3 on this one. Now, I hear you going, well, what about Haruhime's big buff? I'm going to do that next turn. I do wait a turn to do that for various reasons. Not the least of which is very simply I need to keep those buffs in play, and I need to keep everything kind of balanced. So in this turn, we're going to go ahead and do Sheikah. We're going to get that big buff out because we're going to need those heals on turn 4 once again. So once again, we're going to go ahead and do skill 2, skill 3, skill 2, skill 3. Let go. And my phone's going to choose to do that. That's all right. I'll cut that out. That's editing I really don't feel like doing today, to be honest. Busy schedules, so sorry for that little foible there. Good times. All right. Now, turn 12. You can kind of already see where we're going with this. I'm going to go ahead and do Yosuga one more time with Haruhime. Normally, I would do her essay here and get this big triple essay out, but I'm going to do essays with Ryu and Riveria. I know some of you are probably already seeing problems. That's fine. Don't worry about it. I know. But this is what we're going to do. So we need Yosuga. I really should re-record this. I'm going to do, I say that a lot in my videos, don't I? I'm going to do Yosuga here to get the big healing out. We need that heal. Unfortunately, I won't get her full heal because we're not going to be doing her essay, but to be honest, her essay would be kind of redundant here, and we need the buff replication. You'll notice our 1 unit resistance is now down to 1 turn. Now, I could take Ryu's 3rd skill away and kind of give us a little bit of room on that, but the whole reason we were taking advantage of that MP regeneration so early on is so that we didn't have to worry about that. So we could basically spam skill 3 on Haruhime and Ryu as long as we need it. So here we go. We're going to keep that going. Those 2 are skill 3. We're going to do the essay with these, and you will notice that the essay with Riveria does remove strength and magic buff skills. So the magic buff is going to be on. I believe she actually brings it back the next turn. I think she actually does re-implement it if I recollect, but for now it's not going to affect us as greatly. So now this is where I say this is a big gamble. Preferably you'd like a unit that kind of does it a little bit later in the game. I'm going to keep an eye on the little, if you look at the top, there's a little circle with the M and the blue arrow up. That's her magic buff. We're going to keep an eye on that in this turn because I've never really paid attention to see when and where she does the buff. I know she does a rebuff at some point, but either way, she does the majority of her magic buffing at the end of turn 11. So if you do this in turn 12, you should be relatively safe. Though to be fair, it is definitely not preferential. Boom. Go, girls. There we are. All right. Could be better, could be worse. So, right underneath. Yeah, see there, she rebuffed it. That is majorly. That hurts our overall. Yeah, see, and then Haruhime died. See, and that's what I'm talking about. Why I like skill flow so much is because at this point I'm like, I'm dead in the water. I've got nothing I can really do. I've got to go back in here. Now, normally Haruhime doesn't beef it there. Normally she's pretty good for a good bit of time. So this is just kind of one of those RNG failures that I was talking about. And the reason that I like skill flow so much. Notice that Ryu's also going to kind of, die on this turn as well because we don't have a healer. But that's fine. We can just soldier on. I'll show you the end screen. We'll talk about how to modify your skill flow, even though this is definitely not going to be a model run by a huge margin. Very disappointing, but that's all right. It is what it ultimately is. Not much I could do there. Now, I am aware that I did kind of create that situation, not under any missed notions about that one bit. I do know some ways to fix that, and I kind of understand why I'm in the situation. But once again, I wanted to emphasize why I do like skill flow so much. So let's go ahead and do... it doesn't matter. Let's just finish this out. I've got an SA, but neither one of those units are really preferable to SA at this point. So let's just go ahead. We're actually made it to turn 15, which isn't bad. So we'll get our full bonus. We just won't get all of our damage out. And 375 still isn't terrible. It isn't terrible. Still is between the margin of 4th and 5th, but neither here nor there. If you see this little button down here at the bottom, this is all brand new right here. This is your edit and save this battle skill flow. We can click right there, and you can see if I wanted to modify the skill flow, let's say I go skill flow right here, I can actually change the turn on which we do Haruhime's SA. So if I wanted to modify that, do it on turn 9 instead, basically what you do, and we've shown this off before, the top button, the one that's blank, that's just a base attack. And since she doesn't come in until turn 3 anyway, it's just automatically selected for that. Now, if I click apply the skill flow from this battle, it'll automatically override everything. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and do that. There we are. Now, I don't want to save this. I like my previous skill flow better, but it does kind of show you what you could do there. And then I could actually amend it so that she also attempts to do. So like 1, 2, 3 are the number of the skills. Obviously, like I said, the blank button above there is a base attack, and then this little light here is her SA. So I could actually modify this so she does an SA on turn 12 as well. It's possible. And then skill 3 on these turns, presuming she survives. So you can go in here and you can give this a big edit and just kind of manipulate what you're doing. I'm going to go ahead and, do you want to close the screen? Yes. I do not want to overwrite that skill flow. I'm still working on mine, to be honest. But that skill flow, that's why I think it's so good for Record Buster and why it's been so necessary for so long. You'll notice there's a little button over there beneath Philvis and Line talking about copying other players is not allowed. Basically, that's what I was talking about at the beginning of the game, where you can't, like, go over here, go grab, the top-ranking person, and then just copy their skill flow, which I like. Frankly, like, that was a lot of people's biggest concerns about this, is that, anybody, any schmo at that point could come in and cheese it. Like, no, you still got to use your brain. But I really, really, really like, even though that wasn't a model run, obviously, I really do like skill flow for what it allows a busy person like myself, basically the capabilities to, like, fight RNG on an uphill battle. When we're on streams and stuff like that, obviously then I can go in and manipulate things a lot faster. In fact, if you really wanted to, if you had, like, if you knew right away, there's an edit save button right there, once again beneath Velvis and Line, where you can actually go in here and modify it one more time before you go in. So if you haven't even set one, you can go in here and set it. Now, the one thing I do want you to be aware of, if you do not click the use skill flow button over there, it's not going to work. So make sure you're utilizing this. But I'm really excited to have this in here. Hopefully, I meant to have this video out on Friday so we could really gush about it when it was news and relevant. But if you haven't used this yet, hopefully this helps you guys understand it. I'm really happy it's here. that said, that's to be the video, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. I'll be back at you guys, though, with more Danmachi here coming out really soon. And hopefully we'll actually be able to get the live stream out. I apologize. I got ill last night just before the live stream, but hopefully we'll be able to do it again tonight. I will let you guys know on social media, and we'll make posts about it as well if anything does come up. But like, comment, share, join the Discords, check out the merch. I'll be back at you guys with more Danmachi soon.